Small landlords can save the sector. New figures on the housing shortage. Government attacks the sector once again. I'm your host Matthew Mooney, and today we are rooting for the little guy. Yes, we are. I'm just rewriting the script because it's shit. Hello and a warm welcome back to Property TV. Now do like and subscribe to our channel, for it is rather splendid, and you will find the latest news, techniques and strategies from the property sector. So subscribe now. Do it now. I've got to keep the surprises coming. Let's do this. So in a previous episode, we looked at what the government plans were for building 300,000 new homes per year and how likely they were to succeed. Now, in a recent edition of Investors Chronicle, Jonas Crossland offered up a new solution in his article, Still Room for the Small Landlord. The increase in private landlord tax can be justified in many ways, generally by people in government or the tax office, surprisingly. So here's a couple. 1, levelling the playground between homeowners with mortgages and landlords. Interesting turn of phrase. Or the idea that fewer landlords means that more first-time buyers can access the market. But what does it really mean in terms of overall supply and landlords looking to buy? So residential database expert home.co.uk claimed that actually supply in the last year of rental properties has dropped by 16%. And the National Landlords Association also ran a survey very recently showing that 20% of their members are looking to pull more properties out of their portfolio in the next few years, i.e. sell them. Now, this comes at a time when demand is skyrocketing through the atmosphere and more people wish to actually get into rental accommodation. Here's a few of the sectors. So more young people are looking to rent rather than buy, and Scottish Widows recently did some research showing that 1 out of 8 retired people actually would prefer to rent rather than buy, leading that number of retired people that are renting up to over 1 million people in the next 15 years. So the gap between demand and supply is slowly reaching an alarming rate, and this means that we have to do something different. So there's a couple of things in which we could do. Now, one of the things that Crossland advocates is buy-to-rent accommodation as potentially the lifeline of the sector. Now, the problem is when we look at that, there's really only about 100,000 build-to-rent units either completed, planned, or with planning consent in the UK, of which half of those are actually in London. But is this enough? Wonders will never cease. The government's hostile attitude towards private landlords is just continuing to destroy the sector. And in fact, the PRA regulations that we've reported on in previous episodes of Property TV effectively have tightened the ratio between rental income and mortgage payments, making it even more difficult for landlords to actually get into the sector. And really, landlords should be being encouraged by the government to offset the huge housing shortage that we apparently have. And Jonas Crossland finishes off his piece, which is rather good by the way, so you should read it, and says,
"There will remain a place for the smaller private landlord, simply because the pace of new build will not on its own solve the housing shortage."
But as we all know, and I said this in the submission to the finance bill as well, in my opinion, clause 24 will lead to a cataclysmic end of event or end of sector change for the private rental industry, for the small-time landlord, which appears to be what the government wants. But as the Chancellor would say, and the Housing Minister, nothing to see here, move along. Move along.
Scene 6, take 3.
So, as I said in my response to the finance bill, oh, come on, pick yourselves up, let's crack on. So the thing is, we come back again and again to the same issues that I raised in my petition to Parliament in October 2015 around clause 24 of the Finance Act, where I made the point that it is without a doubt a tax on the freedom that every British man or woman has to better themselves, improve their futures and plan for self-funded retirement. Now, Because of the fact that it is an attack on buy-to-let investors, I made several suggestions and questions that never actually were answered by Parliament. So here's our chance to ask them again. So the first one is, why should less wealthy property investors pay more tax than their wealthy counterparts or companies? That doesn't seem very fair, does it? Number two is, why is capital gain tax different for a buy-to-let investor than it is for a homeowner? Surely if interest relief is removed, then capital gain should also be removed for homeowners, putting everyone on an equal level playing field. So I was just meditating there, it's getting too much for me. Anyhow, and lastly, why is it that there is a different set of rules for the public sector versus the private sector? Private sector is highly, highly regulated, and atrocities such as Grenfell Tower would never happen in the private rental sector because of the fact there are so many regulations and there are so many council officials and officers and enforcement people basically on landlords' backs that this kind of thing would never happen. So these are some of the questions that I would like answering. Of course, the private landlord will still help the sector, because of the fact that there is no way on earth that the Chancellor will ever hit 300,000 new homes per year. And in fact, I would like to make a special announcement and give the Chancellor the first ever winner of Property TV medal of all that we've done in the sector to help. You've really helped enormously. I'm sure that the corporate giants will come in and make your wallets nice and healthy, while private landlords are out on the streets in cardboard boxes, which is what everyone wants apparently. Who knows? So I'd like to thank you for joining us once again for another explosive edition of Property TV. Do join the channel, subscribe below, and make sure that you are keeping up to date with the latest techniques, tips, hints and tricks from Property TV. Stay tuned, we'll see you very soon. And as we always end on a very delightful quote, I am here to help you. What's your excuse? Goodbye.